Welcome to a podcast capturing the antics of two geeks who talk about video game culture and influence, both old and new. All through chaotic banter and tangential tangents that make no sense. I'm Mask. This is my friend Red.
Bruh.
And we are the Reddmasq Podcast. And we don't have a theme song yet because this is episode 1.
We don't have anything. We're just going at it.
Yeah, we just got this idea to just say, hey, we just kind of hang out every Friday evening, and it's like, this kind of antics that we get into aren't really recorded. They're not put on Twitch or anything. It's just like, fuck it, we ball. We can probably make a show out of this, honestly.
So I linked some weird ass game to you.
Okay, we're gonna start in the back end here. What the hell did you just send me here?
Bad Day on the Midway. It's a CD-ROM video game, but it's more of a it's more just an interactive thing, and it's weird and it's like horror but only atmospheric. Like shit.
Okay.
I mean, it's horror if it's horror because every single playthrough ends with basically everyone dying. So there's that. The only character who cannot die is the little kid who is innocent, but also hilariously, he's oblivious. He's innocent and oblivious.
So,
to the point that it's like almost
the kid is innocent
comical.
but oblivious. Okay.
Yeah. So, because again, near the end of the playthrough, near the end of every playthrough, a plague starts going around the Midway, which kills people in a couple hours, and it's just all the adults just start dropping like flies. All the playable characters you can control start dying, and it can also be your character because you see their thoughts along the bottom of the screen, and if they claim that they're feeling a fever, either reload to save or switch characters because the game is very random, and if you were looking for something specific, you would have to, reload the save if your character that you need eats shit and dies.
So, there's a life and death kind of scenarios thing going on here, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, is it like a simulator, or is it like you're just guiding these kids around and you have to keep them alive, and if they die, it's just better to save scum?
It's a weird artistic experience where there is no actual goal. You're just supposed to get to the end of the day, and there's two or three different ways to die. One is the plague, which will kill every character except whoever you can control.
Right.
Right. So there's 3 ways to die. The plague, which happens at 5 p.m. because it starts with a rat escaping a game, which you can control the guy who runs it, but he's patient 0 for the plague and dies always. You cannot, he's always dead. He has no ending. So that's the one way to die. The second way to die is a serial killer who is also a playable character you can control. He never kills the kid. Timmy is his name, because he finds him innocent, and that's very beautiful to him because he is. Unfortunately, the serial killer is a mentally ill man. Unfortunately. Fucking, of course. And he was abused as a kid, and his fucked up brain was became obsessed with the idea of beauty and ugliness, and he basically mercy kills.
I can see how this would be controversial, yeah.
So he's mercy killing people he finds ugly, which is basically anyone except for Timmy. And it's it plays off people what I found online, they talk about it's because he's innocent and innocence is beautiful. No, it's because he's oblivious. The man thinks existence is ugly. That's when you look at how he talks and the way he speaks about things, he just finds because existence is suffering, existence is ugly. So he's just mercy killing everyone he runs into. And the only reason, and I swear to God, the only reason he doesn't kill Timmy is because he's too oblivious to feel suffering.
Childhood ignorance is bliss, as they say. It's not even the fact that he is a kid, though. It's just the fact that he's just so dumb to get what's going on in the game itself, or at any given moment.
All the adults, because something that the game does a lot is that if a character dies, it likes to try and bring that character to you so you can watch them die. That's like,
Dark.
yeah, so like so you can see like, oh, this character's now gone. I cannot play as them. What the fuck is happening? And every single character has a reaction to the people in front of them dying. But like Timmy has no thoughts. His head is empty. He doesn't even understand what's going on. Like the playthrough I watched of him was like someone comes up to him, dies in front of him, and he just starts thinking about like a goldfish his friend won at a carnival one time, and it's ridiculous. It's hilarious and it's weird and horrifying. But like each of the characters are like fucked up in their own way as well. So like you got the obvious serial killer, you got the innocent, oblivious kid. You got this lady who married a Nazi sympathizer.
Okay, we gotta back up here because like the Nazi sympathizer, like that's a whole fucking bucket of that's a bucket of nonsense I gotta unload in a minute here. But like this game is like a survival horror in a point and click sort of scenario. It sounds like you're going around areas and it's just like trying to
But imagine instead of the goal being to survive, the goal is just to explore and experience as much of the game as possible before the time runs out and it's the end of the game. Because the time running out just means that the day end. The time limit was like the killer, where it's like, oh, eventually your run is going to end. You're not going to see everything. You need to play it multiple times. And that's the whole, like, there is no actual game goal, which is why I hesitated to really call it a game, more just like an experience done by the artistic group known as the Residents.
I'm seeing this, yeah, like these guys did the music, they did the gameplay, they did like a novel based on the game apparently, which had a limited release of 750 copies in 2012, along with a CD featuring remix selections from the game's soundtrack. Like, these guys look like musicians. Oh, they've been active since 1972.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Like it is a straight up artistic group. Which is why the game is very artsy and doesn't really play like a game. It's just like you walk around the carnival, experience as much as you can, figure out how weird and random the game controls to the point that it's like the way the game works being so random is part of the art and chaos. But like there is no overarching goal. Like each character technically has an ending and they technically have goals, but it really doesn't matter too much if you finish their goals or not. It just gives you more cutscenes.
Right. It reminds me of this one PS2 game that was like made for in a similar vein. It's not quite a Silent Hill, but I believe it had some connections to that. I'm trying to figure out what it was called though, because I had a friend show me this like a long time ago. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was like on PS2, you had like a heart rate monitor in the game itself, and you're like trying to go through and understand. I think it was this one actually. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me just confirm that.
And there is a third way to die, but it's like you basically just ignore a warning in one attraction and you just get killed. It's the only way. That's also the only way the kid can die, by the way, is by fucking. Because otherwise he is invincible to everything else. He does not catch the plague. He does not get killed by the serial killer because, again, existence is suffering. Suffering is ugly. This kid is too oblivious to suffer. So, but yeah, there's it's a whole crazy cast of characters, and like if you do the weird Dixie, I think her name is just Dixie. If you do her ending, she finds out that her husband, who is comatose in the room in the back of her attraction, was faking being disabled as a massive Nazi sympathizer, and he basically owned and he built and owns the midway that you're on, that you're hanging out in. And it's like it's mostly played for like humor, because it's like, Jesus Christ, this man is ridiculous. Because like her ending involves him coming out of his coma or whatever, and they decide to close the midway, after everyone fucking died. Not that they not like they respond to it in the ending. Their ending is just like every ending doesn't touch on the fact that everyone around you is dying. It's just like, oh, here's how this person ends their day. Like they end up by dropping off Timmy at the entrance so he can go home. And then like her and her husband, the Nazi sympathizer, is like, we're going to be building a new attraction in Idaho. It's going to be called Kitty Clan like it's like literally some fucking Ku Klux Klan joke because
I just
he
wince at the idea of that. Yeah, like you could
the
probably
man
get away with this in '95, but you can't get away with
and
writing
this
something like this
yeah,
nowadays without like a
I mean it's
lot of oversight. Like even like
yeah
the modern
because
Wolfenstein games have to have like a lot of just people
but like it
double
never
checking on
plays
like
him.
how this actually gets represented in the final game.
He's not even like a good guy. You like look into him and he's like, this guy sucks. And it's just the reason why you get their ending is just because like this guy sucks. He's weird. I want to see how he acts, and it's like parody. Just because like his attraction is like a commie shootout, which is just over the top and silly. And like if you look at the attractions list, there's a lot of really fucked up ones. It's just a fucked up game, and it's an experience, and they get away with it because I don't know. I think you could get away with writing a character like that if you're able to
If you are
do
the residents, if you are this one group that doesn't make video games traditionally, but like has this crazy, crazy idea and like I don't know,
it's
like
like
20 other albums associated with you.
like basically this guy is like a springtime for Hitler kind of guy where it's like this guy is it's just bonkers. That's what it is. The reason why it's okay is because it's bonkers and nothing makes sense.
The idea
But yeah,
of still getting this game and playing it in this day and age, like how would you go about doing that? Like, is this online on Internet Archive, or where do you find such like
there is a there is an
such a
unironic
masterpiece?
site. There's a whole ass site for there's a whole site for this that you can find on that Wikipedia page I linked. Because if you scroll down
Okay,
to
I think I found it here. Is that the
release,
yeah?
after having been out of print and playable only on obsolete computer systems for many years, in late March 2022, links to fan Max Wegner's Bad Day on the Midway info site were posted to the residents' social media channels and official website, announcing that amazingly, Bad Day on the Midway is back and you can check it out. The info site prominently features a free downloadable version of the game, which, with the supplied instructions, is playable on modern systems. So basically, they figured out a way to make it work again. And like as an artistic group, they don't give a shit about the money. They just want people to have fun with their
Right.
dog shit. They want you to experience this shit. And if you
It
that info
is
site,
definitely an experience, a mind-bending one, from what
yeah,
you're describing it as. I'm
yes,
a little
like if you look
terrified to have to try this out, but like, I mean, I
the
will if
info
I
site,
gotta.
you can also find like a long play on YouTube where you can see people experience as much of it as they can.
Well, we'll leave a link to that
You
in the show notes here for like the
yeah,
website for how to actually download this, and if you want to run it on a modern computer, there's a link right there for it. So there you
yeah.
go.
There's a lot of information just about the game in general where it's like, oh, the endings and the possible deaths, and it's like this sort of stuff that I read where I was like, oh, it's because Timmy's innocent. No, he's oblivious. Trust me. And Tim isn't like, or Ted. The serial killer's name is Ted. Um, Ted.
That's
Just
dead.
the fact no
I got
one's
nothing more to
yeah.
say here.
Ted. Well, in his ending, he commits suicide
Oh,
because he again existence is suffering.
damn.
So he mercy kills himself because he's a yeah,
Okay,
just a very
there is
a
one
very
more thing that I want you to describe before we cap this off here, and it's like the ending plot I found on the fandom wiki. It describes the game as dealing with the fate of the Midway, a man in the coma, the future of the Midway, a psychotic killer, plague, and the IRS.
depends on who you go with. Honestly,
Oh, the scenarios you were describing, yeah.
the fate of the Midway is because the there's a taxman that comes later, he like appears later, but he like the person because this dumb motherfucker, this Nazi sympathizer who made the Midway, he's such a crackpot that he never paid taxes. Like he refused to pay taxes. Like there are no, and so like part of like the Dixie girl, her goal eventually becomes to find the tax papers to save the Midway, and only to find out that there are no papers because he never did taxes.
Wow.
So the man in the coma is the whack job Nazi guy who hates commies, loves America, talks about torture. He's just fucked up. That's the whole kicker. And then the future of the Midway, again, the tax papers. the psychotic killer again, Ted. If you
Mm-hmm.
go to certain areas, with a adult, he'll just randomly arrive and kill you and end your game and force
Right.
you to load a save. Because
Every
if your character that you're controlling dies, that's a game over.
right.
But if you're not controlling them, then they're just gone and you're good to continue.
Like every major horror game like this has this trope of this character that is just like the big bad. I mean, I don't know if it started with Mr. X and Resident Evil, but like even games like this to like people that don't like love horror as a genre, like there will be like a mascot, so to speak, that is the craziest thing you've ever freaking heard of, kind of walking around and just causing mayhem in some way, shape, or form. So Ted sounds like this to this game.
And he only ever kills the person you're controlling. So like, don't worry about the only thing that can kill uncontrolled characters is the plague.
Right.
So pure randomness, and it can also kill your character, like I said, where it will like if your character thinks, "Oh, I'm having a fever," reload a save or control someone else because they're dead, they're gone, they're dead, they're a dead man walking. Leave them. But yeah, so it's a weird game. And I barely scratched the surface with everything I talked about because there's a whole cast of characters that I didn't even mention.
If I have to go through this, you're gonna walk me through like what the heck I'm even looking at here because like I'm just looking at the box art and it's horrifying. It's like, oh my god, I can already tell who Ted might be here, and then like the owner of the Midway might be the one on the left. Timmy's the one on the right. I don't know who the hell is in the background there.
I appreciate that the girl on that's the Dixie girl.
Right.
That she's cringing. She's cringing on the front. Like
it looks like one of those like bad '80s like commercials in like early 3D. Like it is just like
so.
It is a spectacle. This art right here.
I can name you the 4 characters. So you did get Timmy right because he's the only kid and he's overly excitable and just a dumbass. Right. Dixie's the girl in the front and
Dixie's in the front. Okay.
The guy on the left. That is the tax man, the IRS man.
Okay. So he's not the Midway's owner. He is from the government, as they say.
Yes. And he's in like his whole shtick is that like you learn that a tax evader ran over his dog and now he's just mentally obsessed with taxes and making sure people pay them and shit. He's like he's definitely got screws loose. Like every character has issues. And then the guy in the back that is indeed Ted. The guy in the back that is Ted, the serial killer.
He is definitely in the shadows there, yeah, but he's is he got like a baseball cap on? What is that?
That's just his hair. His hair's weird.
Hair today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah. And like he just randomly appears in certain places to kill your character, but also just like he's wandering the area as well. Because the way you switch characters is you run into them and then you click on them to get their perspective.
Okay.
And control them. And you can do that even with the rat, but you don't get to control him. You just get to see him run around in freedom, and then you get his backstory of how he developed a hatred for humans and grew a plague within him.
So the rat as a character just ends up being like a anti-hero in this case because like I mean
he's just the catalyst for everything going to shit.
The catalyst for the end of all things.
And we never know what winds up happening to him. So God knows how that story ends. Because once the story ends, you just leave the Midway and that's that. There's no like epilogue. It's just over. It's done.
Is this game like part of a series? Is there a sequel? I don't assume the residents actually ended up doing anything else after that.
No, it's just an artistic experience all on its own. You're supposed to just be weirded out and experience it. And it is an experience. I have watched 2 YouTube videos on it. I have read it, and I'm already weirded out. I'm already experiencing what they're talking about.
Video games, they make you feel uncomfortable. I didn't have anything to talk about just yet. Like you did, you just like brought in something random. I got nothing. I had like a segment I wanted to kind of like start off like called like Game or No Game, where we like pick something each week and just talk about whether we're talking about a game or not a game. I mean, what you just talked about is kind of a category of that, where it's just like a horror experience. Is it a video game? It's not done by a video game developer. No, it is done by a band. Basically.
It's done by an artistic group.
An artistic group.
And there's no real. And is it really a game if there's no goal and it's more of a toy, honestly? But there is a thing to experience.
I mean, when we draw the line between games and things like that, I think there was this game called like Tender Thoughts where you're actually like reading notes from people who actually are on the other end.
Editor note, the game is actually called Kind Words, and I'll leave a link in the show notes as well.
It's like a messaging service, and it's like in a calm room, and you're a person just reading notes and just kind of replying heartfelt messages back and forth, and it's another artistic experience, but it is a game. I mean, there are a lot of games like that where people don't call them games. Gone Home was an experience a while ago.
Oh, yeah.
It definitely had a lot of things that I don't think I'm ready to talk about because I haven't actually played the game. I probably would want to actually do the research before talking about something, so I don't look like an idiot talking about what I don't know about.
I have a question. Isn't that one of the games that started the whole walking simulator discourse?
I would say probably. It seems like one of those that where
it was in that time frame. It was basically what it was, and I hate that discourse so fucking much because then it means that Bad Day on the Midway is not considered an actual video game. It's like, motherfucker, expand your horizons. Play Animal Crossing, New Horizons now on Switch. Expand your horizons.
a lot of people hate on that game for no reason too. Like Animal Crossing, I don't know, it's just unfair.
Yeah.
I mean, there is definitely a place in the games industry for people who make creative works to show off said creative works. Games don't have to be what they are, like, made out to be.
It's a medium.
They also don't have to be, like, what they're not made out to be. They can be whatever the hell they want. Kojima's Death Stranding is another one people kind of, like, talk about as a walking simulator, because you're literally delivering packages and experiencing the game through that lens. Although there's definitely a game that actually developed around that with like the director's cut and things.
Like there's whole mechanics to it. It's not just like God. People I think a lot of times you'll find that most discourse is dog shit. It's just people throwing their hands up about nothing. Really.
Nothing to say, or maybe they've never played it and don't want to play it, or they're just insulting things they don't know about. I remember people were harking on... Or was it The Last of Us as well? People were harking on for that reason? Being like a like walking simulator
maybe?
streak?
Well,
I don't know. Maybe I'm misremembering, but yeah.
All I know is that The Last of Us 2 eclipsed it in controversy in terms of annoying anti-feminist losers.
Yes, there is that genre of people that are absolutely deplorable and disgusting, and we've started this show on a low note. We are kind of just like shoveling out the crap that we can find from these topics. Like, people are just not great when it comes to dealing with unique and groundbreaking ideas in their games,
or even just doing something that they don't like. It's just like, they did something I don't like in The Last of Us 2. Therefore, I blame the feminists. What's wrong with you?
It's like scapegoating, right? I mean, it's not great. No, it's just like
you don't like the
are playing
game.
The experience. Like, did you want this experience to be the way you wanted? Because like what you're getting is an experience that is just what the developer has made, and they made it to make you feel a certain way, right?
Yeah, so there was something I saw, I think, with the MCU, where people were like dunking on a recent movie or something that was like it was touted as it had an all-female cast.
Right, the Marvels, yes. I've heard a lot about
the Marvels.
This.
And people decided that the reason it sucked was because of the girls and not because like the Flash exists and they're just doing shit movies right now.
Well, I mean, if you look at Ghostbusters Afterlife, which had a similar situation, it was an all-female cast. The movie didn't do well. I would say that's just because the movie wasn't good. I would say that, like, the Marvels, I haven't seen. I'm sure it's a fine superhero movie. I'm not sure if people are still up for superhero movies right now, though.
Yeah,
a lot of what Disney has done... I'm sorry, I'm just going to keep going with this because a lot of what Disney has done with their IPs like Star Wars, like Marvel, is they put them on the platform for Disney Plus, and just like taken every concept left, right, and center to try to just make people more interested in any specific sub area of these cinematic universes that they've made. Like,
Right.
they want people to be there, to be a part of it, and it's exciting, it's really nice. I really quite enjoy the Star Wars stuff that they do. I mean, a lot of people love Andor. I'm not really a fan of that. But, like, I quite enjoy the whole Mandalorian, Boba Fett, and Ashoka kind of, like, ethos that they've built over the years.
Right.
It's quite
it's
something that kept me in the world, and it's immersive, and it's enjoyable.
It's the fucking extended universe. It's something they've always done where it's like, what about this story? Can we tell that?
Right.
Like, sure.
I mean, I love
It's just-
that. But I'm not sure
it's just-
people are still, like, up for it when it comes to superhero movies. They feel like they've seen it
Right.
all. But that's not the case. They need some kind of, like, a shock moment to kind of get back into the something that
Right.
might engage them. They may need, like, a shock moment to get them motivated to see more of this sort of world. Like, WandaVision
See
did
more
well,
butts.
from what I remember. If you're actually looking for superhero stuff that's doing, like, refreshes, what is it? Omni-Man from, like, the Amazon Prime series. What is it?
Invincible.
Yeah, like,
He's in Mortal Kombat 1 now.
he is in Mortal Kombat 1. It's a nice fighting game. Probably going to talk a lot
Maximum.
about fighting games on this show.
Oh yeah, I mean that's your wheelhouse.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I hope you don't just bring weird, like, horror tropes into things. We talk retro stuff, too. Like, we're going to have a lot of fun with that.
I don't even like horror. That's my kicker. Is like
We started this on the weirdest possible segment. We're going to do the episode backwards, so it's all going to even out.
yeah, but like God, but yeah, it's like that whole fucking thing of just the example I saw for the Marvels, and it was basically just like they compared the Flash with the Marvels, and it was like, yeah, the Flash also failed. It also did shit.
I'd say the Flash
It's not-
failed because of a lot of other things going on there. The sense of CG was, like, kind of not so great, no.
So it was bad. That's my point.
It was bad, yes.
Like,
The Flash was not a good movie.
It's like when women do bad, it's an example that women are bad. When the regular bullshit men do bad, clearly it's just bad. Like it's that
It's just
shit.
sexist bullshit that people pull, yeah.
It's the confirmation bias. You already hate these people because you're a piece of shit. So now you're just looking for any reason to do it and also excuse yourself.
Just bandwagoning on the whole thing, yeah.
Like, it's like
Have an
the Marvels
original
didn't-
thought. It actually
Like
is
the
kind of
Mar-
good for your health sometimes. This episode is sponsored by nobody because we don't quite have anything set up for sponsorships yet because we just want to try to bring in people like you that are interested in listening to interesting stuff like us. Head on over to Ko-fi if you are interested in supporting our show. That's going to be ko-fi.com/mask31, at least for the moment. We are just using the funds for hosting the site, as well as maybe some hardware and software upgrades. But generally, we just kind of want to get people in here listening to what we have to say. And yeah, we'd like to also hear from you. Feel free to leave us a comment.
God, I don't even know if I could do a sponsor.
I
'Cause
was
it's like,
looking at like sponsors, but like at the same time, when I'm asking people, "Hey, we're doing a new show. Do you think we should get sponsor?" People are just like, "No, I just want to listen to the podcast.
The real
I don't want to
problem
always
is
listen to a
like
flipping ad." Who wants to listen
Yeah,
to ads? I get it. I understand.
But
But at the same time,
my-
they keep the lights on.
yeah, my hang up is I doubt I could like put on the act for them. Because if we get a Raid Shadow Legends ad or a sponsorship, God knows my experience with mobile games, I'm just gonna be like, am I gonna be able to stop myself from dunking on it? I don't know.
You know, another podcast I listen to kind of has, well, the host. Okay, it's the Tony Hawk podcast, but like he's got a whole thing. It's fun. It's fun. I would recommend it.
I didn't
Don't
really,
actually stop
yeah.
listening to our show though. No, but like they give their pep talks with their ads really, really enthusiastically. You can tell when the enthusiasm is fake and when it's actually genuine too.
Ooh, I love that.
Like that's the kind of stuff that we're dealing with here.
I do appreciate stuff like Life Thero's sponsorships because they do like a whole bit and they have it animated and it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
But like every time I see a Raid Shadow Legends ad, I'm just like, I know what these games are about. They're all the same. They're all bad.
I
I've
mean,
played a number.
everyone's got their own kind of gotcha game they've kind of huddled into and just kind of enjoy.
Yeah, but it's like my issue. My issue is just how bad some of those games. I play so many mobile games just because it's something I can do on my phone, and a lot of them are incremental games. So it's like
That's your wheelhouse.
My wheelhouse, easy. But it's just like eventually those games just get exhausting to play. The Raid Shadow Legends, where it's just like I feel like the thing that gets me the most about those games is FOMO, where like they'll have like limited time events
for season passes. They want you to log in for those limited draws or limited time events. They want you to just always be there so they can show you whatever the heck they got in the store, and maybe you'll buy it today.
Yeah, but it's like a major case of burnout, where it's like it'll occupy my mind. It's like I didn't get the thing, and then I'll just quit. Like I've literally quit games because I missed out on an event, and it's like I'm free now.
It's liberating, I would imagine.
So it's just
I don't have
it's
to
like
deal with this crap anymore. Goodbye, Ultra Shiny Charizard Rare.
It's so fucking aggravating to put up with it at all times, or it's like we're gonna have a limited time event. You're not even a live service game. What are you doing?
As little as possible.
I'm angered. Angry.
Angry Bunny.
Yeah, that's where I do be with that one. Oh god, do you want to talk about Scott Pilgrim Takes Off?
Yes, let me pause the recording. Let's take a deep breath. Alright, so our main segment for this week is a whole frickin' rant we have about the new Scott Pilgrim series on Netflix, because holy crap, is it good. And for so many reasons.
I like that Gideon Graves looked like fucking Joe Yabuki from Ashita no Joe for some reason.
Okay. We're going to start with that, I guess. All right. I don't want to start. Look, I don't want to start with that. I just want to start with like the whole fact that like they got the movie cast together again, and the voice acting is actually spot on. Like people are actually shocked how well some of the voicing actually went. It is a good.
Yeah, I think what it was is like people were like, someone talked about like, oh, with anime dubs, it's like you have like a range of in the character versus just a normal guy. And it works for Scott Pilgrim because a lot of the characters are just some guy anyways.
I mean, yeah, some of the characters are like the background character is the character himself. Scott himself is just like such a dumbass. A lovable dumbass. Michael Cera does a great job voicing that.
You know who's more of a dumbass though?
Who?
Young Neil.
God, they did his character so well. They gave him so much power.
He's so stupid.
And that just makes it so much more charming when he's actually, like, has his script and everything. There's gonna be some spoilers for, like, late in the episode. We'll try to call out when. But, like, back to young Neil here, because, like, I'm sure in the books he was just as dumb. In the movie, I've actually forgotten, like, as well. Like, I don't think... Have you read the books?
I have, but it's been too long.
Likewise. They sold them at our comic book shop, like, a while ago. I used to help out, like, bleeding weekend card games for kids at our comic book shop. And, like, they had the Scott Pilgrim novels for sale for a little while. I never really got around to reading them, but I heard about the movie.
I read them on YouTube because I was a cheap-ass kid.
That's fair. But, like, I would imagine, like, a lot of just the energy for each character did come back in such a great way. But, like, you can't just watch the movie, is what I'm hearing. You have to watch this alongside just, like, being a part of it. Oh, and the video game. Let's not forget about the most important part of this, is, like, there's this whole universe for Scott Pilgrim because there's a flipping video game by Tribute Software, who does fantastic beat-em-ups. And it just introduced so many people to this. It was like a PlayStation 3 darling, this beat 'em up.
And they brought my favorite song from the beat 'em up back for the finale of the series.
You won't be disappointed if you actually like expect something like that, no matter what part of the cultural phenomenon, I think we'll call it. Yeah, cultural phenomenon you were a part of with like hearing about Scott Pilgrim somewhere else. Either through the movie, the game, the books. Like, you will enjoy this if you just heard of this character, basically.
I like that they expanded it to so everyone is an asshole.
I'd say so, yeah.
Scott's
Like, this is definitely credit to the writer. They brought Brian Lee O'Malley back for the whole writing of this show.
nice.
So he got to reflect on his character and everything that kind of went into this. Not just Scott, but everyone. And I think what he saw was that, yeah, everyone's just an asshole. Maybe
Yeah.
originally, too. And, like, he's kind of playing that up for effect, but also because genuinely he kind of feels regretful about it, maybe.
Yeah, and it's also just like even with everyone being complete assholes, it's like they're clearly all still growing. Like Knives gets a really dope fucking arc.
Oh, yeah, her little solo that she had with Kim in her side story there. By the way, this is just going to come as a shock to you, but
Nomura.
Tetsuya Nomura is the name of Final Fantasy VII Remake's writer, director, developer. Hold on.
Speaking, just to go off on a small tangent,
He's the director, by the way. Tangent.
Yeah, Nomura isn't like gonna completely nuke your favorite series, for the love of God. It's all like expanding upon what it was originally, not just
right. This is kind of goes into the discussion that we had earlier about just like people thinking that they want something to go one way, it's going a different way.
Yeah, so let's keep going on this Scott Pilgrim tangent.
I like how we both were like, you keep going. We're passing it back and forth. It's like a friggin' football here.
we just fumbled it so bad.
God.
So,
God.
Penalty 10 yards in both direction. Just this dead zone in the middle of the field because both teams fouled. Oh my God.
Just like, who's going to kick it at this point? I'm just going to say kick it. Kick the fucking bucket. By the way, we have an explicit content rating for a reason, so yeah.
Why are we on 7th down? What do you mean?
Fucking God. Okay.
But I loved that each of the titles had like a reference. Like each episode title was done in a style for a specific video game. Episode 1 is clearly fucking Super Mario Brothers 1, but they keep that up for all of the
episodes, all the way up till episode 8, where they do a Clash at Demon Head callback with even the font and the start icon right on screen there.
And what's my favorite part about that is that I never even I don't even know what that game is like. I just know it exists, and they referenced it a bunch.
This game is just like a retro, like, gamer paradise sort of thing. Like, there's so much culture in this pop culture, like, show, so it's like meta on itself. It's just like playing on such a good note.
That's always what Scott Pilgrim was.
Yeah, I mean, it was nerd culture before nerd culture was really just like mainstream.
Yeah, but like I'm just surprised I caught the Clash at Demon Head because like why is that knowledge in my brain? And it was I think what gave it away was I saw attack and I was like that has to be like very specifically this game, and I don't know why. I think it's just because they reference it already.
Right.
So it's like oh, they probably put that in there, didn't they? And they did. It's literally the Clash of Demon Head. You don't start the game, you attack. So what else can we talk about
with this? I mean, we had some great scenes with the fact that Ramona got her own arc. Considering that Scott is dead. And that's like half the plot of the show. Like, for most of the episodes, it's like every character just assumes Scott is just like dead. Yeah, because they're pulling this whole twist on the story like Tetsuya Nomura did with Remake, where they're actually playing with like the characters and the original story itself. A lot of games are kind of opting to do this as a way to kind of get people engaged with the universe and everything, because like your favorites will always be your favorites, and the story will always have a place in your heart. But let's just pull at those strings and just put a couple of what-ifs in there.
And not to mention, even with Scott being dead, they're still like developing him as he's dead. So it's like it's also like this sounds like a spoiler. Scott dies, but it's like it's literally the end of episode 1.
Yes.
It starts off
the main character.
They killed off the main character, and it threw people for a fucking loop because it looked like it was going to be just a typical remake in a new medium.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't. It was funny. But That basically just sets the stage for what they're going to do for the rest of the series as an expansion. It's extended universe type shit.
Right. It is more of what you don't know in a world that you already do know.
Shout outs to the hamster dance. Oh, I mean,
Oh my
sorry.
god.
Whistle stop.
Whistle Stop. What is the flipping story behind Whistle Stop here?
I literally, well, it was in Robin Hood, so, furries.
Furries! Wouldn't be a podcast about technology without furries somewhere in there. I listened to two.
It is literally in our logo. I will have you know.
So, the Whistle Stop came in 1973 from the Robin Hood movie, of course.
Yeah.
But, like, in 2003, I want to say? 2004? Was Hamster Dance.
If I go back to what I linked to you as the opening from the Wikipedia article, the Hamster Dance song is a novelty song by Hampton the Hamster. The song's hook is based on a sped-up sample of Whistle Stop, a song from the 1973 Disney film Robin Hood. This sample was originally used for a 1998 webpage called The Hamster Dance, created by Canadian art student Deirdre Lacarte. I can't pronounce that. Using the webpage's popularity as a springboard, she and a Toronto native, Jeffrey Lane, worked together with Canadian remix duo the Boomtang Boys to create a full song out of the sample. Due to licensing issues with Disney, Rob DeBoer and Tony Grace of the Boomtang Boys re-recorded the sample and added new lyrics. This is relevant because at one point a character sings a part of Whistle Stop, and it's the part that's used in the Hamster Dance. And I called it out, only to find out that both the song, it was like a whole experience where I called it out as the Hamster Dance. I looked it up. People are calling it Whistle Stop. I find out that Whistle Stop is used as the basis for Hamster Dance, and now it is also Canadian. So it would figure that a Canadian series would make a tribute to that kind of shit.
Insightful. Fuck it, we Nyan Cat.
Fuck it, we Nyan Cat. There are no therapists in fiction.
There are no therapists. There is no help. There is no escape. Your character is going to be as flat or three-dimensional as we want it to be.
Batman's therapy is dressing as a bat.
This is how my parnets died. Parents.
Parnets. It's just my favorite fucking thing because that's totally how it goes, man.
Totally. We just have in-jokes. So you're just going to get all of those. I apologize in advance on Red's behalf. I'm not apologizing for anything I said.
You think I'm sorry? Fuck you.
Yeah, what are you going to do about it?
Mom.
We have some celebrity cameos in this show, too, that are really nice. And you wouldn't actually think that they're actually there. Like, I did not catch Weird Al, cameo at all on the first pass. Yeah. You had to go back for that one.
Because they use him for something that's totally not him. They're just like, let's just have Weird Al come in for this. Like, sure, it'll be funny. And it was. It was really funny to hear.
It was pretty funny,
realize it's him. Really funny that we realize, oh my god, that's him. And then he's just gone. They use him once, and then he's gone. Like a Simpsons cameo almost. Back in the day, at least, where it was like, the cameos were more of a parody. Like, oh, here's this cameo, and he's gone. Or like, maybe even... Are you familiar with the Naked Gun movies? Or whatever it is?
What the fuck? And no.
Oh, yeah. So The Naked Gun is a series of funny, very funny movies that are like it's very dry because Leslie Nielsen is the main character, and so a lot of the humor has to do with him being completely stone-faced and just doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But before we had the Naked Gun series, we had Police Squad in color. And it's just a lot of the same type of humor where it's like absurd and Leslie Nielsen is just rolling with it. Oh god, but like there's a whole joke, there's a whole running gag in the opening credits where it's like, we have a special guest, this character, and then they die immediately after they mention the credits in the opening credits. So it's like, oh, special guest, this character, and then they show this guy, and then they show the guy like doing police stuff, and then he gets shot out, and he's just dead. It's over. He's
Damn.
gone. That like stuff like that, where it's like the joke is that we have a special guest and we're not going to use them.
Just sounds like a straight up Eric Andre skit almost.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of comedians were like inspired by shit by like the Naked Gun and Police Squad Proxy. There are only 6 episodes. There are only 6 episodes of Police Squad because it got canceled pretty early. But then it became a famous movie series. So who the fuck cares? So who really won?
True. Like a lot of other like famous movie series kind of play off that sort of thing. They don't even intend to be like humor. They just kind of grow into the genre all their own. Like the trilogy of the Shaun of the Dead series. Like it's the 3 Flavors Cornetto trilogy. First you have Shaun of the Dead, and then Hot Fuzz, and then The World's End. That sort of thing kind of like sets like the most ridiculous bullshit tone that you'll ever flipping hear. I don't know what the point was with that. Fuck.
Well, I actually know what the point of this is. We're gonna tie this back to Scott Pilgrim because they use the 2 like main characters, the 2 main actors of the Cornetto trilogy as just random security guards as another casting joke.
Yeah, I just thought they were just Canadian Canucks, honestly, when I first saw them. Like, they just sounded the part. I didn't even think about that. Like, they could be just something else.
Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. They're basically just dressed like they're from Hot Fuzz, because they were. And yeah, it's just really funny, because when I heard them, I was like, I don't know why that sounds so familiar, but it's so fucking Canadian and British, it hurts. And then and then I realize... And I look it up and I realize it's them, and I'm like, oh yeah, that explains everything.
That was the thing.
Because like, you know what's funny? To drive the point home, and like the finale, they show those 2 guys eating Cornetto ice cream.
I missed that. Oh fuck.
the most like, did you catch this yet? Joke ever.
God.
It's the most amazing.
I haven't seen that since like all the random callbacks they do in, like, the fucking Abridged series for Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Like, they have a lot of experimental, like, nerd culture stuff in there, but, again, Scott Pilgrim did it all first. It didn't do it the best, but it was there, and it was a flavor that really kind of, like, left an impact on, like, the lives of a couple of schmucks like us, I guess.
A very delicious Cornetto flavor, if you may.
God damn it. I'm gonna play the beat 'em up again. I would do that again.
If we could do that again. I remember when we did it, we eventually used cheat codes to get enough money to grind our stats to max and get extra lives.
Oh yeah.
The final boss, we did just not have the chance to grind really. So the final boss
big old
just kicked
evil
our...
Gideon. Yeah. Oh yeah, we paid off Scott's late fees to actually get some fucking moves. Because like the whole thing is structured like an old school River City Ransom style beat 'em up.
Kind of. It's a mixture. Because the thing about River City Ransom is that River City Ransom is open world.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just an RPG beat 'em up. It's open world. You can go wherever the fuck you want, and there are some limitations based on how far along you are along the boss chain. But it's like you are able to go wherever and grind your ass off. With a lot of games that are inspired by it, but not quite. They're often like still level based beat 'em ups, but they have the RPG and grinding and tin shops you can go find.
There's a distinction to be made there, yeah.
And like every game that's inspired by River City Ransom always has the secret shop in the tunnel. That is because that is a thing that every River City Ransom game does, where it's like if there's a tunnel, there is a secret shop there that has really good shit, and you need to go there.
Yes. Scott did that too, though, with the star, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's why I'm bringing it up, because in the overpass tunnel, there's a star in the wall which indicates where the secret shop is.
I mean, yeah, it just pays tribute to video games as a whole. Oh, some of the camp references they had, some of the later episodes. God, the fucking Virtual Boy on the goddamn floor there. Not just the Game Boy Vault, no, the fucking floor was a Virtual Boy controller too.
Yeah, I loved that, but I just can't help but think like, yeah, this is a bad future. The Virtual Boy is all VR now. No, This isn't okay. It's still all red. What do you mean?
They even joke about it.
Yeah, that's like all I know is that I made that. I brought it up to my older brother because something we constantly poke fun of it at him for because he streams and he's an entertainer. He makes music. One of his hot take opinions is that the Virtual Boy is objectively good.
No. I've even played Jack
right?
Bros on that thing. It's the most playable game on there. By the way, there's a great Shin Megami Tensei like spin-off based on that.
Right.
We're going to talk about it probably in a later episode, but like no, even with that game, it's not great. It has like what, 12, 13 games total?
And it's like, yeah, there were barely any games for it. There was a hilariously anime Tetris 3D that I remember playing. There was Mario's Tennis. There was Wario. I think the best game on that system was probably the Wario Land.
Wario Land is definitely one of the games that never made it onto any other Nintendo platform. So that is a must-play if you own a Virtual Boy, but it's kind of scary. Why would you own a Virtual Boy?
Just fucking emulate it, man. You can
emulate it on a Quest 2. There's actually a dedicated emulator for that. Or
and
Quest
if you
3.
emulate it, you can even adjust the color so it's not red anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You can make it a little bit more easy on your eyes by making it like gray or blue. But yeah, like something I did like about Jack Bros, which is like, again, that's more of an arcade game if you play it.
Mm-hmm.
Not only is it the first Shin Megami Tensei game to get localized to the US, haha, fucking what? Also, the music is really good, and it made me realize no one's Virtual Boy chiptune is very underrepresented.
It was a 32-bit console, right? I feel like it was a 32-bit console.
Well, it's when it comes to chiptune, it's more about like the channels you have access to.
It was a 32-bit console, yeah. Like, the audio channels are very important. Oh, I can tie in the thing I was talking about last night with you, with the Game & Watch. The Zelda Game & Watch includes 2 games. It includes... Well, actually, it includes more than 2 games. What am I, an idiot? No, it includes the versions of Zelda 1 from both Japan and the international release. The Famicom sound chip gave it an extra channel. Just one. But it actually made all the difference, and it changed the entire sound feel of the 2 games.
God damn, really?
Yeah. Did you not know that?
Is there a link for this?
Oh, yeah, I'll get that for you. I'll just put it in the show notes here. I could probably play a clip, like, side by side of, like, both intro themes, so take a listen.
Anyways, the Virtual Boy is a 32-bit game console designed by Nintendo, mostly intended to fill the gap between the Super Nintendo Entertainment System and the Nintendo 64, while also taking advantage of an early mid-1990s virtual reality fad. Unfortunately, the system flopped dismally, getting panned as being uncomfortable to use due to its awkward design and the eye strain caused by the primitive 3D technology, delivered in a red and black only color scheme. You know why that is, right?
Because... Fuck, I forgot.
Red LEDs were cheaper.
Oh, yeah. It was what they went with, because, like, it was still going with, like, Game Boy logic. This is before they even made the Game Boy Color.
Yeah, this is Nintendo in there. We're trying to make shit cheap so it's affordable and we can get in the market. Understandable. Yeah. So, anyways, being discontinued after less than 9 months and being remembered as one of, if not the worst gaming machines ever made. WarioWare Gold, when you get the item that represents the Virtual Boy, and you look at what they have to say about it, it says, like, technically, it was way ahead of the time in terms of virtual reality. And I'm like, yeah, it was so ahead of the time, it failed horribly. It was not good virtual reality because the tech wasn't there yet.
It was a commercial failure. Also, on the topic of Nintendo games that reference the Virtual Boy, I gotta give shout-outs to the Tomodachi Light Cult Circle.
Oh, fantastic. I love that meme.
That one. Fantastic.
All hail the Virtual Boy. People use that as a meme for whatever they actually like.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's like, I just love that calling it ahead of its time is like, yeah, that's technically correct, but not in the way you hope. Music and sound, the thing we're actually here for. The Virtual Boy used a custom-designed virtual sound unit, which contained 5 wavetable synthesis channels and a noise channel. The chip was similar to the TurboGrafx 16 sound chip and the Namco WSG, though heavily cut down compared to them both. That is being the lack of bass range and frequency precision. The Virtual Boy could also accept additional audio chip inputs from the cartridge slot. Though with so few games made for the platform, unsurprisingly, none of them ever took advantage of this feature.
So it had a Super Effects type capability. Yeah, I mean, the Sony chip on the SNES was good enough to have some great sound range, but like...
Actually, I was going to make a difference.
This also has like some completely different stuff to it. Yeah.
It's the VRC6 chip that was used in Castlevania 3.
Oh yeah, that was on the NES. Yeah, that was actually a pretty great use case.
Well, actually, it was on the Famicom. The Famicom had access for that, but they removed it for the NES because
was it the Famicom Disk System version or the cartridge version as well? This is my question to you.
It'd probably be the cartridge version. Speaking of WarioWare, going back to that, I love looking at Mario Paint, the 64 disc system, disc drive, Mario Paint, because it has prototype WarioWare on it. Are you aware of this?
The N64 DD version, is that correct?
Yes.
Oh.
It came with 2 mini games, like how Nat Attack was the SNES Mario Paints mini game.
Okay, so which WarioWare prototype did it have?
Oh, hang on, 64 DD. Wario.
I know it's Mario Artist you're talking about, right?
Yeah, Mario Artist. It's specifically Polygon Studio. Here, let me look this to you. As soon as you can immediately tell the WarioWare from the thumbnail.
Oh yeah, it's got the tape and everything. Yeah.
It's literally level 1. It's literally level 1 Wario. Level 1 Wario, level 100 mob boss. I don't know why that popped into my head.
It's so weird when Nat Attack got put back into like Mario Maker too. Like,
I mean, the devs are very happy to like bring back their old like.
I'm glad, but it's such a different time it was separated from when you actually look back on it all. Like the people that are involved and the projects, and it's just like.
But what I hate the most though is that the Nat Attack of Mario Maker does not have the level 3 music. The level 3 music from Nat Attack on the Super Nintendo is music to stim to, because it's just a frenetic drum beat and bass. And it's just like
doesn't quite set the tone right.
I listen to this music and I'm like, this is music I would shake my hands to.
At least it's not the Resident Evil basement area.
The DualShock basement version.
That infamous one, yes.
Shitstorm Spooky Cuffs. Let's go.
All right. Have we talked about everything with Scott Pilgrim here? Is this kind of what we're going to put the pin in for now? Like, I feel like we said a lot.
To be fair, if we want to talk about more, we would get into spoilers.
There's a lot more that happens, and we both recommend the show. Give it a watch. Worth your time.
We have barely touched on what episode 8 even does. We mentioned like a single character.
I give it 5 bunnies out of 5. How about that? Are we gonna start rating shit?
7 asses. Anyways, if you're gonna talk to me about ratings, I'd probably be like a weirdo who'd be like, "Oh, it's gonna be out of like, again, like 7." More or less to make you think about what it is I'm giving the rating for. Like, I'm going to say, like, oh, it's 3 out of 7. What the fuck does 3 out of 7 mean? What does 3 out of 7 mean? Why don't you listen to what I have to say about it then? Because if you use numbers that people are familiar with, they're like easy, like 5 and 10 are typically used.
Right.
You kind of run into the issue of, people having like preconceived notions of what those numbers would mean.
Like,
And
out
it's
of
like-
something else. I'm just saying 5 bunnies, because, like, fuck
Yeah,
it. We got the bunny and
five bunnies. But it's like,
Benoy.
but you've basically you've activated my trap card to talk about ratings.
Yes.
It's basically like if you use numbers that people are familiar with, you wind up accidentally doing like a thought terminating cliche or whatever the fuck it's called, where they just see the rating and are like, okay, that's obviously that. And it's like, kind of. But I want you to listen to about why.
That is the point of it, just to actually listen and think about it instead, and read the flipping article sometimes instead of just looking at the number and judging it by the number.
Yeah, and I always think I wish rating systems. I would probably use my own rating system to be like, this is how I feel about it. Do I think it's a masterpiece? I don't know. I just know I enjoyed it. I know I didn't enjoy it, and whatever. That's what my rating is. If you're using it to determine the quality on its own, I hate to break it to you, but you're full of shit. Anyways,
90
I'm on
Amsterdams
my
out of 100.
Biddy-dee-da-dee-doo-doo.
Dee-da-dee-dee-doo. Thank you for joining us on the Reddmasq Podcast. We are found usually putting out episodes every Wednesday on Pocket Casts and on our website. For now, we are hosted on mask31.dev. And you can find our coffee at coffee.com/mask31. Feel free to leave any comments at our email or at the coffee channel. Thank you for listening,